Guys, welcome back to August Love Story, the channel. My name is Artieka.
And I'm Tommy.
And today we are reviewing Married at First Sight, Season 13, Episode 3. And it is titled Their First Rodeo. If you haven't already, please take a minute to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell. So this week we watched two couples get married, the final two couples get married. And let's see, we started with Brett and Ryan. So the very ending of the last episode was Ryan being very, very jittery at the ending of the aisle. Mm-hmm. And we opened with Brett getting ready to walk down the aisle this time. I did note that Ryan seemed very nervous when he was talking to Brett's dad. And during their, I can't remember what they call it, but them the families giving their information about
what they want the person to know.
Mm-hmm. We learned that Brett is very competitive and that she coaches and that she has one dog. And then he did tell her in that same time that they said she has a dog, that he also has two dogs.
Yeah.
I hope their dogs play nicer together than oh my gosh, what are their names?
Haley and
Jacob. Yes.
Yeah.
Because that was, I think, that's the one that sticks out the most with dogs as of recently.
Right.
Ryan's friends mentioned that he likes to bake and watch The Notebook, and he was just like, no, that's not true. He does strike me as a guy that would be like, yeah, we can watch The Notebook.
Right. He I think their introduction to each other was really good.
Mm-hmm.
When he found out her name, like I was so nervous in the beginning when he was like really seeing her for the first time, because the previous preview, it was like, I don't know if basically his look was like, I don't know if I really like her. She's not that cute, And I was so nervous and looking at it like, oh man, is he gonna like her? Are we gonna have a repeat of last year?
I just wonder, I don't want to say does anybody have a poker face, but I guess some people do have poker faces. But it's like they try to give us the like craziest reaction that the person gave. Like, say one of the speakers fell over and they made a face because of that, and they're like, this was you looking at your bride for the first time. You're like, that's not how it happened.
But we know that it's what they put it there for. Mm-hmm. It's to build that cliffhanger for the next episode. So when she finally came down, he smiled, and I liked the way that he leaned over and talked to the dad.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what he said to the dad. I can't remember.
I didn't make a note of that either.
But I like how he did come over and talk to the dad and stuff, and started to build right then and there, and everything. So I did find it awkward that after their introductions, it was such long pauses because the officiant wouldn't say anything or didn't say anything, or kind of like letting them.
The officiant was like, take in the moment, guys.
Right. Just take it in. So, yeah, that was my input. You go ahead.
I did note that there were two kisses at the aisle, so at the end of the aisle, so that made up for Myrla and Gil not getting one kiss.
Yeah, I didn't see that part, but I heard it.
Let's see. I noted that when they got to get together, just the two of them after to have their champagne, they found out what each other did for a living. She's a teacher. He works in oil and gas. She's like, in Texas. Would have never thought about it.
Right.
And I'm like, yep. At least they have a sense of humor. I put that them getting to know each other has me very hopeful for their relationship. Ryan did say that Brett wasn't what he described as his type, but it works. And he reiterated that a couple more times throughout the episode, especially when he was asked by the bridesmaids. And I think once more when production asked him.
That was the thing that, like, we kind of knew that going in, that physically, like, he said physically she's not what I wanted. You know what I'm saying?
Or what he would typically go for.
Yeah. But we knew, like, I just didn't know him and his attitude towards what he's doing. Because it's one thing to not physically be attracted to a person, but it's another thing to have the mentality that, hey, well, you know, maybe she's not as cute as I would, you know, want, but he thinks she's beautiful.
I don't even think his thing was like a cute factor.
Right.
I think that he just like, he dates like a girl that's like, and this is me taking what was said out of context, obviously, because I don't know Ryan like that, obviously. But I think like he's more so like a physique more so than other things, and she just doesn't fit the girls that he would go after.
She definitely fits being a teacher.
She does.
She reminds me of my high school pre-cal teacher. Yeah, but I was like, yeah, she's definitely a teacher. Like I see it, you know.
Yeah.
But no, I just found I didn't know his attitude or how it was going to be because he's so dry.
He is very dry. I noticed that on Unfiltered. I actually was like, maybe their relationship isn't working out because he was so on edge on Unfiltered.
Right. I didn't see the Unfiltered, but it's like
he was on the very first episode.
It was like his whole conversation with her was so monotone and there was no emotion in it. And it's just like, how do you feel about this whole thing? He told her she was beautiful and you could question if he really meant that or not.
I think that a lot of it has to do with production. Like we forget that like, yeah, they've had a camera following them, but it's been for like simple things like going to try on a tux.
Yeah.
Not meeting the person that you're supposed to be like with for potentially the rest of your life today.
Right.
At your wedding.
Right.
Let's see. Brett and Ryan then went back out to take their family photos or their photos as a couple and then their family photos. And one of the things that stuck out to me is that the staircase that they were standing in front of, I said it looked like they were on a cruise ship. I was like, I don't really like that would not have been the place that I would have wanted to take my photos together because it definitely did look cruise ship-esque.
Yeah.
Let's see. I know that Brett felt anxious while she was dancing with Ryan, and Ryan tried to make her comfortable because she was like, what is this country music? I don't two-step or any of this. Makes me like, you kept saying something about hip hop. Did she specifically mention that?
I was just messing around. I wonder what type of music she does listen to, though.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Obviously not country.
She looked like she listened to R&B.
She might. Let's see. Ryan told Brett that he's going to help her with her glass being half empty comment because that was one of the things that her family mentioned about her. And they do talk to each other's friends and find out that they're not each other's types. So we find out that Brett says Ryan isn't the guy that she would typically go for, but he is attractive. Brett says the same things to her bridesmaids. He also mentioned, they asked, had he ever dated a redhead? And he was like, no. Some redheads, he was like, either you can pull off red or you can't, and she can pull it off.
Yeah.
And I agree. For her to not be a natural redhead, like she pulls off red well.
Right.
The only other thing I wrote is that she feels out of her element with the Boots country music and she feels like she's not going to fit into his life. And I was like, that's a conversation to have because we got to figure out what we're doing here. Like, they kept talking about going to the ranch. And I'm like, are we living on a ranch or are we visiting a ranch? Because those are two different conversations. Like, yeah, we just got to visit a ranch 3 times a year. Okay, cool. But if we got to move to a ranch, what are we doing?
Nah, I got you. She also commented on the fact that she wants him to see her in her natural state and not dolled up on a wedding day because they asked about sex. And so, you know, I'm like what I interpreted from that conversation was she doesn't want to have sex with him because they're married. She wants to have sex with him because he wants her and she wants him.
Which makes sense.
But she's not going to be with makeup on and in a dress and hair done this way and stuff like that all the time. So it's like, are you going to like me outside of this? Are you going to think I'm beautiful outside of this?
Yeah.
And she made a comment. She was like, the eyes doesn't change. Because he said he liked her deer eyes. I was like, what? Who says that? But anyway, all right, take a compliment wherever you get it, man.
All right. So next up, or last up, we saw to get married was Rachel and Jose. We opened with Jose heading to the venue and Rachel with her bridal party looking at her dress. I did note that the fact that she was just in a relationship 6 months ago feels really like wrong.
I wouldn't say wrong. I would just say it's quick to, like, it's a quick turnaround.
I wrote odd, but now I'm saying wrong.
Yeah.
It's like, did you break up with him and immediately? Because people are talking about how long this process goes.
Yeah.
So it's like, did you break up with this guy? It's like, I'm getting married. Go fill out the paperwork for married at first sight. Like, I'm just wondering how.
It probably was a approach type deal. Like, the idea was planted into her head because, like she said, she gave her all for that last relationship and he cheated on her.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, I don't want to give up on love, but I'm not choosing the right guys for some reason. Let me allow somebody else to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, like, we can't look at the success rate of Married at First Sight, but what we can look at is an easy expert way to do it.
Right.
You know, so for it to be so uncommon, it's becoming a very common thing to do.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, so that was my spiel on that. I got a lot to say, Lona.
Thank you, because it is early.
Yeah.
Rachel is nervous about losing herself in this relationship, which you just mentioned, because she said she gave her all in her last relationship. And she seems to do that in all of her relationships. And she just wants things to work out. So at the altar, Jose complimented her and called her gorgeous several times.
Mm-hmm.
At the ending of their ceremony, they were bound together with a ceremonial rosary.
The lasso.
It's a rosary.
I thought he called it a lasso.
He said it's a ceremonial rosary.
The lasso. Okay, whatever. I was just like, my question about that is like, I haven't done any research about it because that's the first time I ever seen
Me too.
anything like that. But it's like, what culture is that and what's the history?
Aren't rosaries typically Catholic?
I don't know.
Yeah, they're typically Catholic.
I definitely thought that was kind of cool because, you know, we always think about, we mentioned it with Johnny and Bao doing the tea.
Mm-hmm.
How when we got married, we jumped the broom,
mm-hmm.
and we know the history behind that. But I just curious because like now it's like, oh, that's kind of interesting that people have these different types of traditions,
mm-hmm.
and like, what do they mean and how, you know, and stuff like that. So
yeah. Jose did say that initially he was attracted to her. We find out that they're both from Houston. They both love sports and they both speak Spanish. And loving sports was not just a comment from Rachel. She said she spent a ton of money to go to the World Series by herself.
Yeah. That's dedication right there.
Yeah, because I just feel like sports events. Granted, I'm not a huge sports fan like that. I like sports, but I'm not like, I'm about to spend it all. I think the most money I spent was when we went to a playoffs game.
Yeah.
And I would not have gone alone.
Like, yeah, I'm not finna go. Yeah, like, I'm a sports fan.
You are.
But I'm not going to go to a sporting event of that magnitude and spend that much money and go by myself when I can be like, well, I'm going to just save that money and just watch it on TV.
I think it's like one of those once in a lifetime things.
It is.
For some people, it's more than once in a lifetime.
Yeah. But I don't know, man. That was interesting. One part in that conversation that they were having was we know that Jose was so caught on, he wants her to be attracted to him. But when she finally said, you said something that he was looking for the physical, the mental. and something about the physical. But she was like, she brought up the attitude towards the person, the mental towards the person. And basically,
she was like personality. Was
the
lot.
Personality. I knew it wasn't physical, but I knew it was a P word. But
again, y'all, it's early.
Focus on his personality and not how he looked. The way the production had zoomed in on him and the way his facial reactions were, it was like, dog, she gonna stab him in the heart because he was thinking that she wasn't attracted to him. So,
and he acted a way about it.
He definitely did.
So definitely, I think that they both said the same things, that they didn't necessarily give a whole list of physical attributes for their spouse, but they wanted someone who they could get to know. Like, unlike, now I have to use her for an example, I'm not trying to throw her under the bus, but Myrla gave list of attributes for he can't be bald, he needs a beard.
They missed that one.
Like those types of things. I don't think Rachel or Jose gave those types of qualifiers for their spouse. I think they were more so like, is this a nice person? Do they have a kind heart? Are they like making sure that they're not mean-spirited? I think they gave those types of attributes, not physical attributes. And so from that, they both felt like they got what they wanted. But all Jose heard was, I wasn't looking for a looker, and, I got you.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of made him feel away. Let's see. I said Jose was nervous about smiling because Rachel said she basically wasn't into looks. That was when they were taking their pictures with the family. And then Rachel loves that he is touchy-feely.
Yeah. And she thinks he's super handsome.
I didn't write that down. Yeah. I mean, I remember her saying that, but I didn't write that down. All right. So next up, Michaela and Zach. Because we already saw them get married, we started off at their reception. She did ask Zach, she said she needed a napkin to spit out her gum. And he was like, give it to me. I was like, that's like the most dad thing. And she was like in your hand? Oh, wow. Thanks. They discussed what their longest relationships have been and how they had previously dated. They both discussed like the use of dating apps and things like that. And we did learn a little bit about Zach and his upbringing. And he didn't specifically say girls didn't find him attractive, but he was just like, he was talked about because of his skin color or skin tone. And I guess he was like really skinny and things like that. And I'm like, man, kids are cruel.
Yeah. I mean, I understood what he was going through because, me and my sister was talked about because with my sister more than me because of how dark we were. Mm-hmm. And I had acne real bad. So, I understood where he came from with that whole thing. Michaela was like, nah.
She's like, you are fine now.
Right.
So we found out that Michaela's longest relationship was 364 days.
Yeah.
And we knew that Zach's was 9 months. I can't remember if Michaela mentioned that because, again, I don't really watch all of the you got matched stuff. Let's see. So they go to her talking to his parents and how they described him as the Zach attack. Yeah. So I was like, he has the Zach attack and she's Hurricane K.
Yeah. Zach attack. But the Zach attack was how he approaches things.
Yeah, Zach attack was positive.
Right.
The Zach attack was more so like I guess it can be looked at both ways. Yeah. Either he's all in or he's all out.
Yeah.
And so for Zach getting married, his mom was like, he is going to be all in. Yeah. So be all in with Zach. And
the dad was like, he thought he thought she was BSing. I don't want to curse. Thought Zach was BSing when he told him that he was getting married. But then, you know, he was telling her that I think y'all are good for each other.
Yeah.
You know, so.
I think the dad liked, and I think everybody else like smiled a lot when she was so giddy about him when she finally saw him for the first time.
She made it easy for people to like them as a married couple. Mm-hmm. You know, because of how excited she was at the altar, the conversations, how big her smile was, how big he smiled because of her. They just seen the goodness and the reactions to each other. So it was a warm feeling. Like the same feeling we had when watching them. Like we're smiling when we see them together and talking to each other. So, so wholesome.
So last up, I wrote, her sisters told Zach that they're watching him because they asked Zach a question about his like intentions.
Why they should trust him.
Yeah. And he was like, I can show you better than I can tell you. And they're like, okay, but tell us.
Right. I don't know how you answer a question like that. My
thing is I hate the intentions question, especially for someone that's already married. My intentions are to marry this person and I've done it already.
Right.
Is there anything else that you can ask me?
Like, how can you trust me?
You can't.
Yeah, right. Essentially, the answer is you can't trust me now.
You can't trust me until you decide to.
Right. So... And
my thing isn't to gain your trust. It is to gain her trust.
Right. So it's like, that was a tough question and it was weird. It's not a weird question to ask because it's such a common question, but it's just hard to answer because it's like, well, the intentions question, well, my intentions, like you said, was to get married. That's why I signed up for the show. Mm-hmm. The trust question is, well, the trust is not dependent upon me. Mm-hmm. Why should I trust your sister? Mm-hmm. You know,
trust is gained in droplets and lost in buckets.
Right.
And stop asking me questions about intentions.
Right.
No. What's the answer that would have been sufficient for you? That's where we need to start. That's the answer.
That's what we need to go with.
Last thing I wrote was Michaela and Zach are definitely going to be the couple to have sex first.
Yeah, I'm thinking they're going to do it first too.
Yeah.
Because the way he looked at her when she came out out of the dress, out of the bathroom, he was like, I ain't know all that was back there. Okay. He said okay like 50 times. Okay. All right. Okay.
He was like, they got all these condoms over there.
Right. You know what they trying to tell us, right? Be protected.
We're like, okay, Zach.
Okay.
Sidebar about Hurricane K. I think Hurricane K is going to get into it with production, like Crazy Brandon.
Yeah.
In DC.
Yeah.
Interested to see what happened that led to that.
Yeah, I am
because
too.
Of course production is not going to show how they, if they were the ones that started the crazy, how they started the crazy.
Yeah.
So next up we go to Bao and Johnny. Johnny tells Bao he takes pictures of his food to remember the presentation. I was like, me too, Johnny.
That's funny.
He did let her know that in his 5 love languages, physical touch is at the top for him. And she's like, oh my God, no. It's at the very bottom for me. So she's like trying to be conscious now of physical touch because he likes touching and she's repulsed by touching.
They are truly like us, man.
I would say I fully get because Tommy is like touch at the very top. And I'm like, bruh, everybody stop touching me right now. Like put your foot by my leg. And that's all the touching we need to do when we're sitting on the couch. Let's see. They talk about budgeting and splurging and Bao gave the most accurate description of consignment shopping that I have ever heard from a person, explaining it to someone who doesn't know what it is, because he asked her what was her last big splurge, and she said, these shoes that I'm wearing now, they're Jimmy Choo's, but I got them from a consignment shop. And I remember I used to go to this consignment shop back in my hometown that only did upscale resale. So like you could go in and get like red bottoms and stuff like that. And I was like, I've never had to explain a consignment shop to someone who doesn't know what it is. But like, I'm going to refer back to your answer going forward. If I have to ever do that. Let's see. Bao told Johnny's friends that she always had a little bit of a crush on him. And I was like, that makes me feel better because we always knew that Johnny thought that she was attractive. But she was just like, it's Johnny. I'm not swiping left when she would see him on dating apps.
Right.
The only other thing that I wrote was about them going to the hotel that night. Johnny had a hard time getting her out of the dress.
Yeah, he did.
Like a hard time. Then he helped her get all of her hairpins out. And I was like, this feels like our wedding night, minus the dress thing, because I had a very easy dress to get out of. But the hairpins, you definitely had to come in there and help me get hair, like pins out of my hair.
I did. I remember that night.
And Bao was talking about her freckles, and he was like, I am weirdly attracted to freckles.
Yeah.
And I was like, she was like, oh, you are?
Well, I got him.
And then she made a body pillow for him in the bed.
Yeah.
So that they, like, so she wouldn't have to touch him.
He had the biggest disappointment face.
He did.
Oh. I was like,
she was just
Johnny.
like, put these pillows here.
I think one thing that stood out to me was when he was talking to her brothers, and he asked, do you guys hug her? And they was like, no. It's like, ever?
And I was like, that feels like Tommy talking to my brothers. Because
like,
I can't. Me and one of my brothers hugged each other this past weekend, but me and my other brother did not.
Yeah.
And I think the only reason me and Artie hugged each other was because I jumped on him. It wasn't even a hug.
Yeah.
I jumped on his back. That's what it was.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason we touched each other the whole weekend.
That's funny.
And
man.
my sister made me hug her.
Yeah. I hugged everybody.
You did. Every single person that walked in the room, you were like, hug.
Come on, bring it in. They don't call me Man Mountain for nothing.
Nobody calls you Man Mountain.
That's funny.
One thing though with Bao and Johnny, Bao putting the pillows between them felt less about I'm not having sex with you,
right,
than previous couples on other seasons when they're like, we're not going to touch each other in the bed.
Right.
Hers genuinely felt like hey, this day has been overwhelming. I'm touched out.
Yeah.
Let me find a way to make you comfortable because you said you sleep with a body pillow.
Right.
Let me make a body pillow for you.
Right.
Whereas other people are like, I don't know you. You're a stranger. We're not going to touch each other in the bed.
They definitely don't have stranger vibes.
Yeah, I mean, they obviously aren't strangers either. But hers was just a little bit more of you don't hate Bao for not giving it a chance.
Right.
You're just like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm not touching him.
You
right
understand
now.
where Bao is coming from when she's like, nah.
Yeah. Even touchers understand the non-toucher. And then we'll end everything with Myrla and Gil. So when Myrla is taking pictures with the flower girl and whoever else was the child at the wedding, I guess it was a junior bridesmaid. Gil tells a story, talks about the story that he's going to tell their future kids during the photo shoot. They were during their first dance, I believe, talking about what's the first thing that they noticed about each other.
Yeah.
And he was like, I noticed your lips. And she was like, not my dress. And he was like, no. And I was like, nobody cares about this dress but you, Myrla.
Right.
Like, throwing it back to you, I don't think, had you not been looking at me during our first dance, that you would have been able to describe my wedding dress. You'd have been like, it's white.
Yeah.
And that would have been the ending of the conversation. I don't even know, without looking at wedding pictures, how much more detail that you can give about it at this point, 5 years in, or almost 5 years in. Let's see.
I don't either.
Exactly. She told him that she thought he was very attractive, and she said to the camera that he was comfortable and warm.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, all right, so be nice to him. I'm not saying kiss all over him and stuff. I'm just saying be nice. Because it felt like at times that she wasn't trying to be nice to him. So they talk about changing last names, and she told him a lie and said that she never thought about it. And then in her confessional, she was like, I always thought I would just keep my dad's name. I'm like, so you thought about it?
Yeah. I don't understand why that's not, like I get why it's such a big deal, but there's ways to keep it. Just
like
hyphenate it. Yeah.
Why didn't he hyphenate my name? But I definitely kept my dad's name.
Right. Hyphenated, move it to the middle name. Dude, just add the last name.
Yeah, when I went to change my name legally at the Social Security office, the guy was like, you want 4 names? And I was like, no, 3 is too many.
Yeah, you can have as many names as you want to, I believe.
You can. And so when you fill out a document, they're only going to ask for 1 middle initial.
Yeah.
So you choose which one you want to do and
remember it.
You figure out which last name you want to go by, and that's the one that is considered your last name. If you want to keep both, hyphenate them. Like, move it to the middle, do something. But there's a way to honor your dad, but still honor your marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, like my granddad and I joked about this like when I was a little girl. And when I told him that I was doing it, he was like, you remember that conversation? And I'm like, the fact that you remember this conversation is the crazy part. My granddad remembers everything, even at 91 years old. But it's a way to honor that person or honor that familial tie because her dad is no longer living. You can do it. You just have to decide to do it. That's pretty much all it is. So apparently there was like some glass clinking going on. I had never seen this happen at a wedding either, where they're trying to get the bride and groom to kiss.
I have never seen it in real life, but I've seen it on this show. That they had clinked the glass to kiss, and Myrla was like, no.
I don't think I actually became a truly active watcher of this show until season 11.
Yeah, possibly.
When we started reviewing the show. Let's see. Myrla cut off the kiss that they were asking for during that glass clinking.
They kissed on the cheek.
Yeah. Gil did tell her brother that he was concerned about all the designer stuff. And Gil's friend, I can't remember what his name is, said that Myrla's lifestyle worries him. And then I wrote, Gil ain't getting no booty, especially being in the bed in these full Christmas pajamas.
Yeah. Gil's friend called her high maintenance. And I was like, is she high maintenance or she just likes really high priced things?
I think those are kind of one and the same.
Maybe.
The conversation with Myrla and her like of high end things. I think that everybody's like, you don't have to spend all this money. And that's true. She doesn't have to spend all this money. However, I think that instead of saying, Myrla, you don't need to buy Jimmy Choo this, Balenciaga that, the conversation should be starting, can we pay all of our bills?
Yeah. I think that's what it should boil down to is how do we combine what we're doing? Like for Gil, I got to look at this stuff and make sure that we're getting the best deal and make sure like we're just not spending money. For Myrla, it's more so of I have a certain thing that I like. Mm-hmm. And we talked about this briefly during, and you was like, you would get the best deals on things.
Tommy and I were talking, and I said, I own higher end things than he does as far as like clothing and accessories.
Yeah.
But Tommy spends more money than I do.
Yeah.
Because he's like an electronics guy. Like he likes the newest and greatest in technology. Meanwhile, I don't care about those things. So to the outside world looking in, if you saw us out, you would look at it as if I was the spender and not him. But really, he's more of a spender than I am because I buy things on sales.
Yeah.
It's not very often that I'm like, I need a black bag. I must go find a black bag. Yeah. I could be out, see a black bag that I've been thinking about or that I really like. And it's like, oh, it's 60% off. Let me go ahead and get this.
And see, that's the type of person they've portrayed Myrla to be is I need a black bag because you come with look at the wedding dress. Mm-hmm. She didn't like any of the wedding dresses. So they apparently she came with that wedding dress.
Yeah.
Is what you told me.
That's what they said on the field trip. Or that's
that's what she said. She mm-hmm. said that. So it's like she likes a certain thing, and for Gil, it's like he like his friends say he's cheap. So the biggest thing is what does Myrla change in this relationship, and that's what people are trying to get her to realize. It's like, hey, he's not that way.
But he doesn't have to be.
Right.
And I think that we're looking at Myrla to change a lot of herself. That doesn't necessarily apply to Gil because they're like, oh, she doesn't have to have these high-end things. It's her thing. Let's just move on from that being her thing.
Let it be.
The thing is, I think that coming together, and I mean, it has to be after the 8 weeks because, of course, in the beginning, you're still just getting to know each other. But in that 8 weeks, trying to come up with a budget to figure out, can we afford these things? What is the dollar amount that she can spend on these things? Because honestly, in a marriage, when you first get together and move in together, you should have an influx of money that you did not normally have.
Yeah.
Because you're moving into one person's place. The bills there are still pretty much standard. The water might go up, the electric might go up, but they only go up so much. The rent or the mortgage is still the same.
Mm-hmm.
You can combine the car insurance and things like that. So there's money saving ways in the beginning. And once you get all of that savings down together and you see that, oh, we're not both paying rent or we're not both paying a mortgage, that's 4 figures of money right there. They get to go back into the house monthly.
Yeah.
So when you look at it from that standpoint, yeah, Myrla can still, should this marriage continue? Mm-hmm. Because we still have to use everything as that. Should this marriage continue, Myrla still would have the access to funds to buy these things. But you have to figure out what are your goals as a couple. Is it Gil owns his home and he owns a townhome and they want to get a single family home? Are we making sure we put enough in savings to go towards the down payment for that next home? Like, what are we doing here? So figuring out those things. But I definitely think that if Myrla can afford, and I think that's the thing is people don't think that she can afford it as an educator. If Myrla can afford it, go for it, but make sure that it is part of the couple's financial landscape to be able to afford those things and get them all.
Well, I think it's not so much of if she can afford it. Mm-hmm. It's so much of what people's thought is of her, because the thought is she's this high maintenance, prissy girl, mm-hmm. and Gil is a down to earth guy, allegedly, but it's just what people think of when you think of high maintenance girls.
But
like she's the popular girl in school, and you're like, Gil was the guy that wasn't the most popular guy. People knew who he was and they have a good time, but he didn't hang out with that group of like popular kids. So
I think the only thing that makes Myrla look villainized with this is because it's constantly brought up.
Yeah. But she brings it up.
But not just her, it's her and the people around her, because that was mentioned in the getting to know you portion of like right before their vows.
Yeah.
But I definitely think that if there wasn't so much emphasis placed on these things must be high end, then nobody would think twice about it.
Right.
If it was just Myrla likes to go shopping, Gil would just be like, reel it in.
Yeah.
But Myrla likes to go shopping and she likes to buy $700 purses or $1,000 purses. Then they're like, all right, girl, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
But anywho, you got anything else for these couples?
I think Gil and Myrla's drive away was dope because they got
the fire
truck. She's like, how I get up here? I'm going to just pick you up.
I haven't been on the fire truck in a really, really, really long time.
That's all I got.
Yep. All right, guys. If you haven't already, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel, turn on the notification bell, and let us know what you thought about all 5 weddings. Oh, we were supposed to give predictions once we saw the 5 weddings. So let's do that now. Brett and Ryan.
I'm going to say yes. They're going to stick together.
I'm going to give a hopeful yes, and I'm worried. It's hopeful because of Ryan. I can't read him.
Yeah.
Rachel and Jose.
No.
I'm also saying no, and I think it's going to be because Jose.
Yeah. I think it's a box that she's not fitting in, and that's why
I think he's gonna make a box that she doesn't fit in.
Right.
I don't think that it's necessarily that she doesn't fit in that box.
Right.
I think he's gonna make it a bigger whatever it is, a way bigger deal than what it needs to be. Michaela and Zach.
Yeah.
Hurricane K and Zach attack.
I want to say yeah, but the previews make me say but I'm gonna go with yes.
I'm going with yes, and I believe that the previews were more so about something dealing with someone else, not Zach.
Yeah.
Than with Zach. Bao and Johnny.
Yes.
I'm giving them a yes. Myrla and Gil. I'm giving them a no. So we got 2 yeses, 2 no's, and a hopeful.
Who's the hopeful is Brett and Ryan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so guys, let us know who your couples were. And we will see you guys next week. Bye.
Peace.